When John Cena made his return to wrestling on Friday Night SmackDown, he had his trademark hat and never took it off. This may have been because John's hair looks a bit different than it usually does. John's natural hair color is brown, but for the last few months, he has been coloring his hair jet black. John has been doing this for a film role, and for anyone who has recently said that John looks different as of late, they would be right, as for the first time, he's had black hair. But as soon as John is finished filming the movie, he will go back to the hair color that fans are used to. The only question is whether it will be in time for his match with the Fiend Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 36, because it could mean that John will wrestle for the first time with dark black hair. In the wrestling business, there are many different male wrestlers who wear makeup, including the Phenom himself, The Undertaker. Whether you notice it or not, The Undertaker currently wears eyeliner to try and add a layer of darkness to his character, which he's admitted that he usually borrows eyeliner from his wife. Seth Rollins has made some changes to his character over the past few months, ever since he turned heel and formed a new faction with Murphy and AOP. But some fans have noticed a subtle change that has confused them. Seth Rollins now wears one black glove when he appears on television, and fans are wondering why Seth started wearing the one glove. The reason why is because Seth Rollins injured a finger on his right hand, and he thought it would be difficult to wrestle with a bandage on one of his fingers. So Rollins decided that it would be much easier to wrestle with a glove on his right hand, so the bandage would not fall off during matches. Seth also believes that wearing just one glove instead of two gloves makes his character come off as eccentric and weird for only wearing one glove instead of two, which fits his strange new heel gimmick. The Fiend Bray Wyatt not only wears a mask, but he also wears makeup. Bray paints the area around his eyes, as well as his eyelids. He does this to make the Fiend character even more menacing and frightening. The only problem with wearing the dark paint is that it tends to start coming off during matches, and the longer the match, the more the makeup will come off and reveal the real Bray underneath. This was not very noticeable back when Bray wrestled under a red light, but as soon as the red light was gotten rid of, fans began to notice the dark face paint melt away during his matches, and Bray's real face began to show. And although it does somewhat take away from the Fiend character, knowing that he wears makeup, there isn't much that can be done, as wrestlers from the past who wore face paint had similar problems, where during matches, their face paint would begin to come off. If Bray were to stop wearing makeup, the switch should have been made prior to getting rid of the red light. And now that fans are used to Bray Wyatt wearing makeup around his eyes, he has no choice but to keep it and deal with fans now knowing that he wears makeup. Braun Strowman recently debuted his new hairstyle during the contract signing for his match against Sami Zayn, Cesaro, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Many fans were stunned by Braun's new hairstyle, which was a big change to his usual hairstyle, which consisted of simply pulling his hair back into a ponytail, a look that he kept during both promos and matches. The reason why Braun dramatically changed his hairstyle is pretty clear now. The change was made due to Braun's ever-growing bald spot on the back of his head, and wearing his hair in a ponytail was no longer hiding his bald spot because of how big it has been getting as of late. So the Monster Among Men decided to change things up and hired a personal hairdresser to give him a makeover and to help cover up his bald spot. Some fans liked his new look, while others thought it looked too much like he had just stepped out of a salon in the 1980s. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be hiding the bald spot as much as he had hoped. Vince McMahon is well into his 70s, and his hair has gone completely gray, and it seemed that Vince was comfortable, showing the world that he was indeed getting older by not coloring his hair and letting it be naturally gray. But as of late, it seems that Vince is no longer comfortable having gray hair, as he has started coloring it to make it look more like the way it did before it went gray. The only problem is that the world now knows that he has gray hair, so why would he start coloring it? The answer could be as simple as not wanting stockholders to think that the head of the company is a man who by the end of the decade will be close to 90, and by coloring his hair, maybe he can fool stockholders that he's not as old than he actually is. Aging is something that all people must deal with, and for Edge, who returned to wrestling at the age of 47, wasn't afraid to show fans just how much he aged during his 9 years away from wrestling. Edge not only had gray hair in his beard, but during his absence, he also developed bags underneath his eyes, which most people get as they age. But for Edge, age is simply a number, and he's out to prove everyone who says that he's too old to wrestle wrong. For many wrestlers, being married is as good as it gets. And for some married wrestlers, they want to show their commitment to their wife, whether they are wrestling in a match or doing a promo. These wrestlers do this by wearing a black rubber ring on their ring finger, which takes the place of their real wedding ring. This is in part due to the fact that it's unsafe for wrestlers to wear an actual metal ring while wrestling in matches, as many people have been injured when the metal ring they are wearing gets caught on something. Some of the male wrestlers who opt to show their love for their wife when performing in the ring include Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, Eric Rowan, Edge, and Eric of the Viking Raiders. For these wrestlers, love is the only thing truly worth fighting for, and they are not afraid of showing it. It's no secret that Vince McMahon is a fan of big male wrestlers who have great physiques, as these wrestlers will usually get the bigger pushes over smaller wrestlers. Case in point, Murphy. As of late, Murphy has received a major push being paired with Seth Rollins, and Vince McMahon believes that Murphy has what it takes to be a major star in the company. And one of the things that Vince likes most about Murphy is his muscular physique, but especially his abnormally large pectoral muscles. Murphy has some of the biggest pectoral muscles of any male wrestler in the company, and while some fans might find Murphy's huge pectoral muscles a bit strange looking, Murphy has no plans of changing his workout routine to reduce the size of these muscles, because without them, he may have never received the big push that he is currently receiving from Vince McMahon. After Goldberg made his return to wrestling, some fans began to notice a strange abnormality on the right side of his stomach, and they weren't sure what it was, and some wondered if it could be a sign of something seriously wrong with him. But the truth is now being revealed with what is exactly wrong with Goldberg's stomach. Back when Goldberg played in the NFL, he suffered a very serious career-ending injury to his lower abdomen and required serious surgery. And after the surgery, Goldberg was left with a strange-looking area on the right side of his stomach, which never fully healed. But some fans are now just noticing the abnormal area on his stomach, even though Goldberg has had remnants of the football career-ending injury on his stomach for his entire wrestling career. But some fans are either noticing the abnormality for the first time, or they simply forgot about it. But also, it could be that as Goldberg gets older, this area is simply becoming more noticeable than before, due to changes in his body. And for the fans who were worried that this strange area on his stomach was a sign of a serious problem, these worries have been put to rest, as we now know that the strange thing on Goldberg's stomach is simply a result of the abdominal injury that he suffered in the NFL, and it's nothing that fans of Goldberg should be worried about.